Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Dynamite Shirt Printing, Kyle Metz. What a guy. He came on as a sponsor, and my primary use for him is drop shipping. So what that means is that I don't got to buy inventory. I don't got to buy a bunch of t-shirts. Kyle handles it all. So it's ordered online, and then he prints it and ships it, and he handles everything. And it works out for both parties. If you're looking for something else like general screen printing, he handles that. He does embroidery. He does direct to garment, DTG, which means you can do one-offs, and there's no minimum on that. Kyle's been able to help a lot of businesses that I've been funneling to him just to get going and to, start up. I mean, you don't want to order 100 t-shirts when you're just coming out the gate. And Kyle can handle small orders, large orders. He can handle everything you need. That's Dynamite Shirt Printing, and it's dynamiteshirtprinting.com. Go check it out. My favorite skate shop in the Valley, 5anddimeeaston.com. You can shop online or in store. Their address is 140 Northampton Street, Easton, PA. Their hours are Monday through Friday, 11 to 7, Saturday, 10 to 7, and Sundays, 11 to 5. They carry clothing, shoes, boards, accessories, and more. You can get complete decks down there. They got grip. They got some local clothing down there as well. I know a couple guys that came on the show that they're now selling stuff in store, and they're exclusive to Fucked. They are doing so much for the independent skate community. They're doing so much for the DIY. They're doing a lot in the area with skateboarding, and I couldn't be prouder to have them as a sponsor. Their story is incredible, from starting it when they were 18 and then coming back later in life to opening up what the store is that they wanted. And the two guys down there are just incredible. I can't say enough good things about them. I love that they're a sponsor, and they really help out in the community. And if you skate or want to support them, please go check them out locally. It is 140 Northampton Street, Easton, PA. Online, it is 5anddimeeaston.com. Please go check them out. All Valley Rooter, Jared LaBarba, friend of the show, childhood friend, Never Again Studios official plumber. 24-hour emergency services. 610-762-1656. That's 610-762-1656. They charge by the job, not by the hour, and they are 100% fully insured. They have free estimates. They also do installation and repair. They have a list of things. I can't go over them all on here, but you can find them at allvalleyrouter.net. All of Jared's services are on there. It's a beautiful website. You can contact him through that website. You can find out how to do, emergency services. Where should I call? Who should I contact? You can get all that there at allvalleyrouter.net. Free estimates, fully insured. Jared LaBarba. Check him out. Radio episode I don't fucking know. Welcome to Never Again Radio. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm excited. I'm thankful that you drove all the way out here. Traffic is absolutely terrible. So if you had any nonsense go on with that, I apologize. But I appreciate anyone who drives out of town to come here. You reached out to me about doing the show, and we were talking before the show started, and I always enjoy getting into martial arts or jiu-jitsu people because they always have a very distinct, specific journey, and none of them are ever the same. We spoke a little bit on the phone. I'm excited to just even get into this. Where did your journey begin? Where does the story unfold? How do you become the person you are today?
Oh, man. Well, I would say the journey begins definitely overall my jiu-jitsu journey. Let's start with my jiu-jitsu journey. My jiu-jitsu journey starts in 2018 down in South Jersey, Egg Harbor Township, at a gym called 609 Jiu-Jitsu. Very, very small school. A lot of hobbyists, a lot of older law enforcement, like people that are just kind of there more for like their jobs and self-defense more so than actual, sports jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went in there, was one of the only girls, and I was like, hey, I want to fight MMA. And they're like, all right, little girl, take a seat, relax. But yeah, so I started there, loved it. Really,
was it intimidating for you to walk into a school like that?
Honestly, no. I grew up around all boys. Like I've always been a tough little bitch.
Yeah,
honestly,
yeah.
like it's good and bad. I've always been a tough little bitch, but yeah, I loved it. I was there every day. Right from as soon as I started, I was as consistent and driven as I am right now, 5 years later. So it was a little nerve wracking, just in the sense of like maybe like people like not even wanting to roll with me because I was so small. I mean, I'm still so small, but you know, people really didn't think that trained there. They really didn't think that girls should be in the sport, and they're just like, oh, this girl's in here for attention. And I'm like, no, I'm in here to roll. I was the first one on the mat. I was the last one off the mat. Like, I wanted to train. I wanted to learn. I wanted to compete. I wanted to do all of that. So
Where does all that come from?
I don't know. Like, honestly, I mean, I do know, but let's be real. Like, I was always a tough chick growing up. I was always in fights. I was always all or nothing. Like, it's either all or nothing with me. That's why my saying is literally balls to the wall or nothing at all.
Yeah.
And people, you know, they're like, oh, Amanda Mazza with that crackhead energy. Like, she's nuts. Like, or she's super chill. Like, there's really no in between. And since I was a kid, like, I just was always super competitive, super aggressive, like, always wanting to win, like always pushing myself past my limits. Like even as a little child, like I just was always nuts.
Do you play sports in high school?
Yeah, I played field hockey and I ran track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super competitive in both?
Yeah, super competitive in both. Field hockey, God, I was bad. I was very good, but I was bad to the sense of like, you know, I made it a lot more physical than it had to be. You know, you're supposed to just have your stick and ball. I was using my stick to crack people. I was using my stick to like throw people, trip people, elbows, shoulder. I was getting yellow carded every single game to the point where my coach literally had to come on the field a couple of times and grab me by my long ponytail and yank me off. Yeah. Because she's just like, what are you doing? And I'm just like, I'm just being aggressive. And then she's like, not like that. And I'm like, okay, sorry. But then I'm super nice. Like, it's never personal. It's just like, you know, it's just, I'm aggressive. Like, I just know how to like turn that switch on when it comes time to compete. Like, I just know like, just time to grit, time to fight. Let's go.
Do you like turning that on?
I do when it's time to. Like, sometimes it takes a little bit, especially now that jiu-jitsu is like my first solo sport. You know, it's hard sometimes because the nerves, the adrenaline, like they're so up and down. It's scary. It's scary sometimes because it's like, you know, you get those adrenaline dumps where you go out there, and I've went out there and I'm just like, and then like my grip is like nothing, and then like I get taken down, I'm just laying on my back like, what am I doing? I just want this to be over. But no, but when I turn it on, I feel good, and I'm like, I'm on fire, and you know, one of us is getting hurt, not like literally hurt, but like one of us is like getting tapped. Someone's tapping.
When you get to turn that on, so to speak, in field hockey or what you're doing now, did you become addicted to like a positive payoff from doing that, and then like getting to like emotionally dump out like that, put it into a centered area, and then kind of release it, and then like, I'm sure it's way different with the solo stuff, but like when you win like that, is that like an unexplainable feeling that you kind of become addicted to, and then you kind of are just trying to constantly go back and then do that over and over and over again? Because I mean, if you've been doing it since you were a kid, there's got to be a reason you keep wanting to do it.
Yeah, honestly, I'm very big on the hard work pays off thing. You know what I mean? Like, you get what you give. You put into this, and you go and you go and you go. Like, you know, what's the worst that's gonna happen? You know what I mean? Like, what's the worst that's gonna happen? You put so much work into something, it's gonna pay off. It does pay off. So like when I hit that level of satisfaction, I can't talk. When you win.
There's a fucking word.
Tongue twister. When you win, though, you know, and you get your hand raised, and you know, even when you win in your team and you score a goal for your team, like, you know, and I submit somebody, or I win by points, or I win by decision, like just that win of just knowing like my hard work's paying off, like I can't explain that feeling. It's just like, you know what, like when you're so focused and driven to something, like and you win, it makes it that much more worth it to keep going with that mindset and that attitude and, you know, that drive. Like I just want to keep doing it. I want to keep chasing that. I want to keep chasing that satisfaction of working my butt off and it, you know, being rewarded for it.
Yeah, I feel like I have the same kind of mindset or feeling, and I'm sure you do, and it was just something I want to kind of pivot into, but like outside of competing when you put that much focused energy, and then like, you know, if you're trying to build yourself up or you're trying to grow something or trying to create a brand or anything that I do with this, because I'm trying to like relate on that feeling. Like I played sports growing up and stuff, but like I never felt that what you're explaining, because I can't explain it to you either, because it's just something you can't explain. But whenever I move like this an inch, I'm always like, oh, yeah, that was fucking worth it. Like, let's fucking go.
Yeah,
or like
definitely.
after doing like a really good podcast, or like the plans on moving, like I don't know how it's going to feel when we go up the street. It's going to be super emotional, but like to have worked that hard for like over fucking 10 years on this one specific thing. And then every time I even just move it a little bit, like it's an unexplainable dump off of like emotion and shit. So I'm sure with competing, I'm sure, it becomes super addictive to even get into anything like that, or in training, or it's always interesting to interview the jiu-jitsu people because there's a specific reason why everyone does it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, any little bit of like anything that you do to like move forward, no matter what it is, like I always call them like little wins.
Yeah.
Like if I have a good training day and I'm like, I was on fire, like I was hitting this move, my passing was on point, like I was just constantly like doing the right thing like all day, like I will leave there and be like so grateful, and I'm like, little wins, like these are little wins, and this is another step forward, you know.
And I feel like the further you go and the more you have those, the more you're just focused on the little ones.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like even after I compete, like my coach Jay, like he'll be like, all right, are you healthy? Are you injured? I'm like, no. He's like, okay, then, you know, even if you lose, like, are you okay? You might have lost, but are you healthy? Are you injured? Like, are you okay? And I'm like, yes. And he's like, okay, well then you're good.
Yeah, it's
So
it's very interesting to hold a perspective like that. Like even when I do stuff sometimes, like I work with my one buddy, and sometimes the result isn't what we wanted, because like, you know, when we go out to do food, it's like you want to sell out, but then like sometimes you don't, and like it's just out of your control. And then like on the ride home, I always tell everybody it's the ride home. The ride home is where we always, like the ride home is why we're opening a restaurant. So like I'll be riding home with Brian after doing like the Local Stone pop-ups, and I'll be like, like we've worked together so much now, like he knows like we're both feeling a specific way, and he's like, hey man, like this is how much we made an hour, and this is how much you would make an hour working for someone else. Like regardless of the fact that we didn't get what we wanted, like we really did an awesome job. And then like when I started doing that, it really started curving like a lot of dumb bullshit I let into my mental, and into like what kind of like keeps fucking me up when like things don't go my way. And I feel like once I started kind of pivoting towards looking at things in a different perspective of like, hey man, that wasn't that bad. Like we still got out here, we still did our thing, we still made more than we would have if this was something regular. And then like it's really carried me in a different way. And like I try and now explain that to other people, where if I catch it and can relate it, like where you can like, hey man, like it's all right. Like we still had a good day. And like I never realized when people like talk about like mindset and like different things like that, like that's kind of what it all comes back to, with like just really keeping your head level-headed so that you can go into it and do it again without doing it so much to a point where you might give up or turn your back on it because you're so hard on yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, mindset is everything, especially and anything. And I would say like, especially with jiu-jitsu too, like for me, like that's one thing that I'm really starting to learn more about is the mindset and everything. Cause like I said, this is my first like real solo sport.
Yeah.
So, you know, like at the end of the day, I'm out there by myself. You know what I mean? Like I'm out there by myself. Like I know it's just jiu-jitsu, but still like, you know, we're all up on the rise trying to make something of ourselves, you know? So, you know, like, you know, we have wins and losses, and I always look at it like, hey, you know what, if we don't have losses, we don't appreciate our wins.
Yeah.
You know, and like win or lose, you're learning something always, and that's the way I look at it now. And instead of me going to a match and be like, oh, I'm super nervous, I'm like, you know what, I'm excited. Like I'm grateful that I have this opportunity to even go and do this. Like I look at it like that. So then, you know, I take the pressure out of winning, and I'm like, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna show how hard I've been working, and I'm gonna have fun with it, because you know what, jiu-jitsu is fun, and I love this. I do it every day. I eat, sleep, breathe it, whether I like to or not. This is literally my life now. Like, but I just like, I put all my eggs in one basket, and you know what, like I just keep chipping away at it. And even when I lose, or even when I have bad training, you know what, I don't beat myself up over it, because I'm like, hey, it's okay. I learned something. I see where my holes are in my game. Like I'm feeling crappy, so I know I need the rest, but you know what, I'm able to do this.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for that. and I'm learning. I learned something today. Even if it was a bad training session, I learned something. Even if I lost by points, I learned something. Like the fact that like I'm constantly learning and evolving, no matter whether it's my highs and lows, like that itself is a win. Always,
yeah.
you
I
know?
always am very honest with people when they ask about, I mean, what people think this is so different to what it actually is on paper.
Yeah.
But like I tell everybody like how far I got with this, and like I'm very honest with like this is all 100% from failing.
Yeah.
Like when I like, you know, telling you about how when we started this and it was in my apartment and like, you know, and like even peeling back on that and like uploading the podcast wrong and then like doing this wrong, and like it was always just, it was failure and failing, and then like running an apparel company and never really getting anywhere with it. But then now I've been, you know, when you don't do something right for so long, eventually you don't have any other options than to do it correct. And like I never understood why someone was like, hey, like to master something it would take like 10 years, or like, for instance, like, and I speak lightly with jujitsu because I don't do it often, and I try and relate to jujitsu people when they come on here. So some of it might sound out of line for what I'm talking about, but I'm just trying to relate to it. But like, there's a reason why it takes that long to get your black belt.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
When you master something, it should take a very long time. And in my opinion, mastering something is from failing at it long enough to then you get it correct.
Absolutely.
And then like, so you can apply that to different things, whether it's, you know, you pick up turntable decks or you do choose any career, like you have to do it for a while. But I'm very open with everybody with this entire journey has been so fucked up and has not been, it's the hardest thing I've ever done. And sometimes I look at it and I'm like, why did I do this? Like I could have had such a simpler life, but then like, I've been doing it long enough and I'm old enough now where I'm like, I just never wanted to do something simple. I never wanted to do something in a fashion where it was easy. I never wanted to do the things that my brothers did. And like, I chose this weird fucked up path of creating something out of nothing. And it's really fucking difficult to do. And in comparisons with jiu-jitsu, and it is being solo, is I feel like when you start doing that, you have an opportunity to make it your version of it. Absolutely. And then the people that come in here, it's so interesting to see which way everybody chooses to do that. And from following you and hearing your story from when we talked and interviewing you now, it's like, it's interesting to see where this is coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know what? The way I look at it, like, listen, it's our life. Like, we're in the driver's seat of our life. We pick what we want. Like, I know everybody has these expectations of what they think they should be and where they should be and who they should be. But at the end of the day, like, and I think, like, especially now with social media becoming so big and, you know, people making money off of social media, just marketing themselves and branding themselves. Like, it's amazing, honestly, because people could actually quit their full-time jobs. You know, they went to school for these things and they're like, oh, I don't even like my job. Like, I'm miserable.
If there wasn't an avenue for me to put out podcasts and do Instagram, I wouldn't have been able to leave my job.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's amazing. Like, me and myself, like, I was a cop. I was in law enforcement.
You a cop?
Like, I was a cop.
You a fucking cop?
Not no more. I was a cop. And, COVID kind of threw a curveball at all of us. I was already training at this point. I was already a blue belt. But yeah, law enforcement, basically, like, the job presented itself to me, and I was like in the middle of a really crappy breakup, and I was like, I need to figure something out. Like, I need to, like, I was 25 years old. I was like, I need to figure something out. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, I was bartending, serving, like, personal training. I was doing a bunch of different jobs just to, like, survive, like, that's it. Because I didn't want to go to school because I didn't know what I wanted to do yet. Like, my goal was to go to nursing school, but, like, to be honest, like, I couldn't afford to, like, just go to school and be a full-time student. Like, I had to work. I had to work to survive. I had to bust my ass. Like, I worked, when I lived in Atlantic City, I worked 4 jobs at a time. I would go from job to job to job to job to job, 2 days off. Okay, back to work, power nap, back to work again, power nap, back to work again. When I say power nap, I mean like an hour, maybe 30 minutes. Like, I lived on 5-hour energies and Red Bull, okay? Like, no other shit. Never did drugs, never did any of that other bullshit, Coke, Adderall, any of that. But, like, literally, like, I worked like a dog. Okay. So, like, I wanted to go to school. So I was like, I really can't afford schooling because I couldn't get approved for any type of loans at the time. Because in Jersey, like, you're not technically independent until you're 26 years old. Like, at this point, like, when I was trying to get into school, I was only 23. So at that point I was trying to get into the military. So I went to do MEPS, the physical where you stay overnight, everything. And I took the test. I failed that test by 2 points. 2. Because I'm horrible at math. I'm horrible at graphing and fractions because algebra, I haven't seen that shit since high school. You know, I'm 23 years old looking at graphs and I'm like, this is like Chinese. Like, I don't know what the fuck that is. Like, I can't read this. Like, you know, so, you know, I was like upset about that because I wanted to go into the military to pay for my schooling. So I was trying to get into the Air Force. But after that, you know, COVID happened immediately. And I was like, crap, what am I going to do? So, you know, law enforcement presented itself. I went through the whole police academy and I went and I was a cop. And you know what? I just jumped into it because I just was like, all right, it's a career. Now I have my life together. Like, here we are. I'm 25. I got my life together. There we go. I got a career. Now I'm good. I'm solid.
Isn't it so funny when you try so hard to do that, then when you do it, it isn't what you think it is at all?
What the fuck am I doing? Like, listen, honestly, like I respect the job. I respect every single law enforcement officer there is. Like, and it's a hard time. Like, it's not easy. It's not an easy thing. I went through the whole academy. I worked everything, but I just was not happy. Like, I just was not happy. And I'm like, this just doesn't feel right. Mind you, I was still training and competing and everything. You know, but still, like, even in the academy, like, people would drop left and right. They were quitting left and right because they just couldn't mentally handle it. Like, I would have these people screaming in my face. I would be beating my face in the concrete. I was doing probably about anywhere from 500 to 600 push-ups a day. I was running miles with a rock that we called our battle buddy. Like, it was torture. It was torture. I got pepper sprayed, like, you know, but, like, through all that, like, I knew in my gut it wasn't for me. Like, I just knew it. And I put myself through all that, and that was hell. That was hell. Like, it was horrible, but, like, I put myself through all that, and I'm just like, I'm not mentally weak. Like, I can handle anything. And anything I want to do, I know I can do it. And that's what I'm going to do. So I resigned. I went back to school. At this point, like, I was able to get a loan. I was able to sign up for school. So I actually am in nursing school right now at the moment.
Hell yeah, dog.
Yeah.
My mom's a nurse.
Yeah. So I am in nursing school. I have like a year and a half, almost 2 years left. So I've been chipping away at that. But still, like, I don't know, like, and now, like, me pursuing this, like, this is something I always wanted. Like, since I started, you know, like, I was like, I definitely have what it takes to be something in this sport. Like, just my drive, my attitude, you know, my heart alone, like, I know it speaks for itself. Like, I had a really hard upbringing, like, very, very hard. And people don't know that because I don't wear that on my sleeve. I did a podcast about a month ago, and I talked a little bit, very surface level stuff about it. But people don't understand, like, I really pulled myself out of every hole I've ever been in. And I've had some good inspiration along the way, but I did it all by my damn self. Like, it wasn't easy, and I'm surprised to even still be alive at this point. Like, I went through some really, really deep, heavy shit, and honestly, like, that's why I'm telling people, I'm like, yo, life is too short. Like, you want something, go get it. Do what you want. Like, anything you do, you put your mind to, and you focus and you do it. It can happen. It literally can happen. It's not gonna happen overnight, and that's something I have trouble with because I'm like, I'm hard on myself in that sense where I'll be like, oh, like, I'm not getting anywhere. Like, am I on the right path? Like, am I supposed to be here? Am I supposed to be doing this? But then something little happens or something good happens. Little, you know, there's little wins.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm right where I need to be. Like, this past weekend, I was down in Jacksonville, Florida, and one of my really good friends, her name's Danielle Kelly. She's literally one of the best female grapplers in the world right now. Like, she is phenomenal. She's a first-degree black belt. She's on one championship. So I'm very fortunate to train with her, and she's one of my really close friends as well. She brought me to go do a seminar. She was doing a seminar down in Jacksonville. And I was like, yeah, I'll come. I was her Yuki, which is like her like person she demonstrates on. I was like, yeah, I'll come. Why not? Like, whatever. We'll make a little trip out of it. So we went there, and, you know, a lot of the students down there in Jackson, Florida, they already knew who I was. And
That's crazy.
I was like, oh, wow. And they're like, yeah, I follow you on social media. You had that crazy flying arm bar. Like, I'm like, oh, yeah. And they're like, oh, you're awesome. You're on fire. And I'm just like, oh, wow. Like, thank you. And then, you know, they're asking Danielle for her autograph. They're asking Danielle for pictures. And then after they're done, they all come over to me and they're like, hey, can we have your autograph? We want a picture with you. Can we have your autograph? I'm just like, I almost like started choking up, and Danielle's like, hey, get used to it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, right there, that was like a little win for me, because I'm just like, you know, like, sometimes when we're on this path, like, of something, we're trying to build a life we want for ourselves, you know,
it's weird when you get in your own head
yeah.
and you don't realize what you're doing, and then I do the same stuff, and then I'll talk to somebody, or somebody will, you know, like I posted shirts the other day, and like I don't post my apparel much because I'm in a position with everything right now is I'm waiting on somebody else before I can do what I want to do, and I'm not used to that because I built this from nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm never held back. It's my control only. So it's only really slowed down if I fuck up, I make a mistake. But at this point, I can stay down here and coast and do whatever I want, but I'm trying to grow, and everything else is now in somebody else's control. And it's been very difficult for me to get used to hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
And like we were supposed to be open in April, and I don't even know if we're going to be open this year. And like I changed a lot of things with my life thinking we were going to be open. And then now I'm back in a position where I don't like the way I feel because it's not where I want to be. And then I'll talk to somebody, or like, so I posted that shirt and like a bunch of people bought it. And the one guy from work was like, yo, these are awesome. And then it like literally in that moment reminded me of when I started this entire thing with an apparel company when I was 28 and got sober, and it just triggered this like long life tethered memory. And then I was like, yo, dude, like fucking stop beating yourself up. Like you've done impossible things that most of the people that you don't know wouldn't even have tried to do, or if would have been in your position would have gave up a long time ago. And like you need to start paying attention to people telling you that like what you're doing is special and different, and you need to stop not allowing that in, because with these horse blinders on, now that I'm stopped and have to wait, I'm realizing like how much that actually like is so bad for me to do, because I'm not taking in the good, and I'm like trying to like sharpen iron with iron, but I'm doing it with myself, which doesn't make sense, because then that just leaves me like defeated constantly. And then when you have those little moments where somebody's like I'll get text and be like, yo, I saw your sweatshirt. And like I remember when I first started apparel, my cousin's like, yo, I almost hit this guy who was wearing your hat. And he's like, I beeped and he waved, and I was like, yo, never again. And like, you know, it's sometimes you need people to kind of wake you up out of your head when you've been through too much shit, and your upbringing's fucked up, or you've had friends die, or like, you know, sometimes it's when you're doing solo stuff, or you're trying to build something and you're trying to tackle the impossible, and you don't know the outcome of it, and you don't know if you're doing right or wrong. Sometimes it's the littlest thing where somebody's like, yo, I follow you, or like sometimes I'll try and explain something to someone, and they're like, yo, I follow you. Like, you don't, like, I know your show. Like, you don't have to explain it all. But I feel like that pulls me out sometimes.
Little things like that.
And then it's like, that's when, like, you know, I like to say to people a lot, like, sometimes when you get on a road, and like, with you doing your path for long enough, you probably know what I'm talking about, where you get on a road and you start moving, and there's no obstacles, so you know that you should start moving faster, because eventually there's going to be an obstacle. And sometimes you're just stuck and you have nowhere to go, and then those little moments is what kind of like, all right, hey, like it's all right, like you're almost at a rest stop, because sometimes you go so hard where you just can't go anymore, because you're just mentally or physically exhausted, or
you
you're
feel
just,
like you're kind of stuck. You feel like you're kind of like you feel like you're kind of like, all right, at a dead end. Like, all right, it's either left or right. Like, which way am I going? Like, is this the right way? Is this the right way? Like, yeah. And you're right. Like, it's kind of like, all right, like, what else can I be doing? Like, no, like, what else can I be doing? Like, for me, like, I'm like, all right, I'm competing. I'm putting myself out there. Like, I'm getting sponsorships. Like, I'm chipping away. Like, but it's still just like not there yet.
Yeah.
But you know what? Same. Like, when I get in my head and I'm like, am I supposed to be doing this? Like, I'm 28 years old. Like, am I too old for this? Which I know I'm not. I know, like, everyone's like, relax, you're literally not. Like, some of the best in the world are like 40. You know what I mean? Like, I just turned 28 last week. And I'm like, I'm too old. Like, I should be like, a lot of my friends are like engaged and having babies and like all that stuff. Like, I'm not there yet. Like, I'm not, you know what I mean? Like,
but it's also, I get that a lot because of what two of my brothers are married. They have kids. My other brother was so all my brothers have all been married once, and I've never have, and like that used to fuck me up for a while because it wasn't like what my parents wanted out of me. And then eventually I did this for so long where my parents were just finally like, okay, you need to do this, so like just do it. So just see if it fails, because you've been trying so long. But like sometimes it's hard when you make, and like, it's sacrifices. Like, you're sacrificing all that stuff you're talking about in order to reach this goal. And a lot of times people don't see where like you're doing sacrifices like that and it's lonely. And then like if you have people around you who, like how I said that, like this is where everybody comes to watch the fights, because the shit that we do down here, we can't do at my other buddy's house because he's got kids. My other buddy's house, the TV's on a wall and his wife's behind it. My other buddy's house, there's animals and kids and you know what I mean? Like here, it's just me. So like sometimes it's like when you're the only option of you don't have all that stuff going on, it's like, man, and then the payoff is that when this moves an inch and I'm like, nah, this is what I want to do. It's just like when you get stalemate, it fucks you up in the head a little bit. And like, that's when you start second guessing that. But I'm sure somebody in your position and what you're doing and how young you are and everything you got going on, and you see your friends start having kids and married, it's got to fuck you up.
It doesn't at the same time, because you know what, like, I rather be happy where I'm at. You know what I mean? Like, I'm chasing what I want. What I want. And this, like, nothing feeds my soul the way this does. Like, and like I said, like, my upbringing was so hard. My life has been very hard. And I honestly always tell myself, you know what? Like, my journey and my path, everything has been so freaking hard is because I'm meant for so much more. Like, I'm not meant to live an average life. I'm not. No. I'm not.
That's
I've tried it. Like, I know in my gut. Like, and I think, like, I keep getting redirected and
I think you would have stayed a police officer if you did that. If you, you know what I mean?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, that was another thing too. Like, I'm not just gonna stay because it's comfortable. Like, I'm that type of person. Like, hey, your comfort zone will kill you. Like, I thrive in chaos, and I hate to say that, but my whole life has been chaos.
Same.
My whole life has been chaos. Like, people have no idea. Like, my whole life has been chaos to where it's like, you know what? No matter what, like, I've been through worse, still standing and breathing. Like, I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah, it's interesting when I talk to people. Like, I related to you when you were giving me your background on the phone, and like just, you know, our stories are not the same, but there's things that happen in everyone's life, and if something happens repeatedly and you have multiple versions of it, you almost start getting into a position where like you start. Like, I've noticed, like, everything that I do is so wild, but at this point, I now have created controlled chaos. Like, my plate is always full. And then, like, I'll be, like, texting Zach or somebody else who does a similar thing, or, like, Luke, who does the knives. Like, he you know, I was talking to him, and he's like, oh, I tried taking a break, and now I got so much more behind me. And I'm like, dude, if you wouldn't have taken a break and you would have gotten a break, you still would have filled your fucking plate. I don't know when my plate hasn't been filled. And then, like, sometimes I overfill it because it's a distraction, but I can relate completely with the, you know, I built controlled chaos. It's like my life is so not normal. It's like I work today, and then it's like I have this, and then I'm editing and posting, and it's like, you know, at some point in my life, I just needed distractions. And then when I made them like healthy things and like made them creative businesses, now I have kind of like, you know, like a Wheel of Fortune wheel where I can like, fuck it. All right, well, what do you want to do today? All right, well, this is bothering you. Okay, well, let's turn over here. All right, well, this is like this. All right, well, then let's go to therapy today. And then it's like, all right, well, we did that. Now we're good. Okay, well, we can go back over here. But I've never... I've worked so many jobs. Like, and I feel like that's where it came from my parents, where like I stopped, like, when I would fill out a job application and it was like embarrassing to put like where you worked because it was every other year and like I never seen anything consistent. Like, at one point my dad was just like, look, he's like, you're obviously not going to stay at something structured. But then when I started looking at it from my perspective, it was like, if I would go somewhere and like, let's say I was working night shift at a plastics plant, right? And then like I would literally sit there and I can see a straight line of what the next 10 years of my life would be. And if I was spending that at that plastics plant, and I would sit there and I'd be like, man, what are you doing? And then like after 6 months, I'd be like, you're gonna do this for 10 fucking years. And then I remember like being in a kitchen and being like, man, you could do so much more with your life. You could do anything you would want to do, instead of, you know, people always tell that to people, but no one ever explains the amount of hard work that is. And most people don't want to put in the hard work in order to get to where they want to go, or they think it should be handed to them. And when you have that outlook, you usually just stay stuck. And when you stay stuck, that's how you end up in a 9-to-5. And there's nothing wrong with a 9-to-5. My father worked at a printing press. My mother was a nurse. I grew up blue collar. I have so much fucking working class in me. It's insane. It's why I don't stop working. I'm not saying this in a downgraded fashion, but I can't do that. I can't sit in. It's why I like working in a kitchen. It's totally fucking insane. You're working with a group of pirates. It's fucking, you know, it's like the tickets and everything. Like today was like, it's busy, but it's like, there's nothing better than digging out of a bunch of tickets and then you accomplish something as a group. It's like, I can't do that you know, I did tree work, I did landscaping, I never did anything. The only real jobs I ever had, I left because either they weren't meant for me, or there was always just internal bullshit. Like I remember I worked at Martin Guitar and I fucking quit because they were yelling at me for being in the cafeteria a minute early. And I'm like, I'm fucking outperforming everybody in the goddamn thing, but you don't like me because I want to listen to music, I'm loud, and I go to lunch a minute early, and you're just going to be on my shit because of that. And then what's crazy is that guy apologized to me years later and was like, oh, sorry about that. And I'm like, dude, like I'm still bent out of shape about that because like, fuck you. Like, fuck you, man. And like, when I realized that shit wasn't for me and I started doing my own thing and I started just putting a shit ton of fucking work into it and sacrificing all that, it's totally worth it. I'm about to do what I wanted to do with my life that I didn't even know what I wanted to do this year. And it's like, none of that would have happened if I'd still be at a fucking job that I hate. And like, I could be married. I could have kids. What if I'm not happy from that? What if those things didn't make me happy? And then here I am living this false existence because I didn't sacrifice to get to where I'm at. Absolutely. So I relate when you say that you're putting all this shit into it and you're doing all this stuff and you're working, and it's not easy to do at all. It's very difficult.
Well, I think just honestly, what drives me crazy is hearing people complain. Like, I understand, like, we all have our shit. Of course, we all have our stuff. We do. But, you know, when people complain and then they do nothing about it. Like, that drives me nuts. I hate to say this, but, like, my brother is one of those people, and I love him to death. And, I mean, granted, like, he's a little bit more of, like, at a disadvantage. He doesn't really know too much because my brother, he is autistic. But, like, he does have a job and everything. But still, like, he's always has an excuse for everything. And that's just, like, an example. Like, and I'm just like, hey, like, you want to go do something? Go do it. What's stopping you? Oh, well, this, that. I'm like, okay, well, listen, find ways to make it happen and go make it happen. You can do it. If you want something, you want something, you want somebody, you want something, you want to do something. Listen, we make time for the things we want. We go for the things we want if we really want it. You know what I mean? Like, there's three types of people in this world. And I've always said that there's three types of people in this world. There's the people that say they're going to do something and do it. There's the people that watch other people do it. And there's the people that, like, literally make excuses for everything. So it's like, there's the doers, sayers, and just watchers. It's
hard sometimes when I'm talking to people, or, you know, if it's in a situation where, like, I get upset about it, like I have no problems telling people you are complaining to the wrong fucking person. Like, I've had and it's like, you know, I might have, you know, and you'll learn the older you get, like, I kind of keep my story to myself anymore. Like, I've lost too many people to, it's just how I live. Like, I remember my sister-in-law was like, you're weathered by death. And it's like, and then I got to a point where it's just like, it's like, you're complaining. Like, sometimes when I have somebody complain to me and, like, they haven't gone through anything, they haven't carried anything, and then it's like, I just kind of, sometimes I'll be like, yo, like, you're complaining to the wrong motherfucker. Like, I quit drinking, was dating a heroin addict, and lived at a bar for a year, like, and still went out with my friends and watched them drink, and then, like, I did this and that, and it's like, so it's like I've always figured it out. And, like, sometimes it's hard when you're going through some shit, and anybody who's listening who's going through some shit, to, like, when you start focusing on, like, what shit you've actually gotten over, it starts putting things in perspective, like, that you are going to land on your feet if you're that type of person. But some people just sit back, like you said, and will just.
But why? Like,
it's
why?
tough.
I understand.
But that's
it's hard,
why,
but, like, it's just like, and people are like, oh no, it's not that easy. Like, if anyone understands, it's me. Like, and when people hit me with that, like, oh, you don't get it, I'm like, oh, try me. I don't get it. I've been through, you name it. Like, you name it, I've been through it. I've dealt with it. I've felt it. Like, I've been through a lot, and people really don't understand that. And I don't wear that on my sleeve because, you know what? Like, the only reason I look back is to see how far I've came. Honestly, like, and, you know, I've been in a situation where it nearly almost took my life. Like, I've been left alone. I've been abandoned. I've been, you know, I was busting tables, eating other people's scraps to survive. Like, I've walked places. I've taken public transportation, like, as a freaking 12-year-old girl. Like, literally, I mean, now the world's even crazier than it was. But, like, at that time, like, you know, and people are like, you don't get it. Like, you don't get it. Like, you've never had this. You've never. No.
I think that's why someone like yourself or someone like myself, you have to keep yourself in a chaotic situation, because I feel like it weeds those people out. Like, a lot of my friends and people that I associate with and that are like, Like, I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people from the network. I know a lot of people from interviewing people, but like my core people, like the guys who watch the fights and all that, like we're all very similar. And I feel like I've created an atmosphere where like I can't be around different people. Like I can be around different people, but like I want to be around other people that are kind of relating to me or like are also in agreement that like there needs to be chaos around us.
Yeah.
I feel like it's easier to get through it. I want to kind of shift in the sense of like, because now that we're kind of like relating on some things with that, like when you went into the military and
I didn't go in. I was trying to get
that's
in.
what I'm saying. But when you tried to go into the military and then even doing the police stuff, like there was obviously a reason that you were choosing that option. And do you feel that like because of the chaotic situations that you were trying to distract yourself with maybe like a very difficult, extremely very difficult solo focused task that you would need to complete, that you were trying to kind of prove to yourself to build up self-esteem, or like why were you kind of narrowing in on something very specific like that?
Well, first of all, for the military, you know, I like structure. I like that structure, you know, because my life has never been structured. Like it was always crazy. Like even as a young kid, like my parents were really never around. They weren't really home a lot. So like I kind of just was like always just, all right, it's a free for all. Like everyone had curfews. Everyone, you know, would get grounded. I didn't have any of that. Like I was just kind of like, okay, like I could do whatever I want. Like I was going to concerts by myself, like on Wednesday nights, like just taking like public transportation on a Wednesday night, going to a concert in Vineland, New Jersey.
Good concerts?
Oh yeah, I love concerts. And by myself, like I'm like 13 years old.
Who did you go see?
Oh God, I would see like some hardcore bands. My emo days, R.I.P. I still listen to the same music.
Yeah.
Still all dressed the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I saw like a bunch, like Taking Back Sunday, like Skylit Drive, like all these like Dance Gavin Dance, like a lot of like hardcore rock, you know, bands. But I would go and do that, you know, like it's not like, man, where you at? Like, no, like I didn't have that, you know. So like I thought like, all right, maybe like some structure will do me good, because at this point in my life, like after COVID and everything, like everything was just like up in the air. Like I literally was just like, what am I gonna do? Like I don't want to stay in this service bartending industry forever. Like I don't want to get.
Did you like bartending?
I don't mind it because I have a personality. I get along with everybody.
Yeah.
I
You
really
meet so
do.
many people.
I get along with everybody. I like people.
And it's a trade you can literally take anywhere and get a job.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a ball buster. I'm very sarcastic, but I got a really good heart. So like I get along with everybody and I'm very personable. So as far as the bullshit that comes with bartending, nah. But like as far as like meeting new people and new faces and learning different things from every little person that I literally sits in front of me, I do enjoy that. And obviously, you know, when they tip good, the money is obviously great.
I always tell everybody, I'm like, I miss the money, I don't miss the situations.
Yeah. But as far as like, you know, military, like I wanted that. Like I wanted, you know, to go away to boot camp. I wanted that structure. I wanted my college to be paid for. You know what I mean? I wanted, no matter what, I have something to fall back on. And of course I wanted to support the country. You know, I wanted to, you know, stand for the country because, you know, it's amazing. But as far as like like law enforcement too, same thing. Like I just wanted that structure.
Yeah, that's what I only asked because like, you know, there's a repetitive theme of like the military, then like the police, and then a nurse. Like it's a very specific, structured.
It's for the people.
Yeah.
It's for the people. Well, honestly, also I grew up on the other side. You know, like my dad was a criminal. My dad is a criminal. My mom, she's a good woman, but a very selfish woman. But yeah, so like I grew up, my dad being on the other side too.
Yeah.
So that was definitely something that I was like, I'll never be like him. I'll never be like him. And I still to this day will never be like him. Love him, but So that was something too. Like, you know what, like do good, get good, do bad, get bad. Like I never was a bad kid in the sense of like getting arrested and doing bad things like that.
Which you could have easily done with no supervision.
Especially that's what I'm saying. Like I had no supervision. I had nothing. Like I was on my own. Like granted, like, you know, I got in some trouble with fighting and stuff. Like I was always a little scrapper. I was always fighting. I took no shit from nobody. but now I'm a wise woman, and I pick and choose my battles. That's something I always say. I said, hey, I pick and choose my battles, and it takes a lot to disturb my peace now where I'm at. Well, I was definitely a little hothead. I'm Puerto Rican and Italian. That's some hot blood right there. Okay, like
it's a dangerous combination.
Yeah, I'd
say
when I tell people that, they're like, oh, I'm like. But those days are over. Like, I'm a sweetheart now. But yeah, I just definitely really felt like I had so much to prove because I was like the black sheep. Like, I really was. Like, I remember like being young and when everything was going on in my life with my parents were just like gone. Like, parents weren't allowing me to go over to their houses because they thought I was gonna like steal because they knew I had no money. They knew I didn't have a ride anywhere. Like, they honestly just like looked down on me because where I'm from is a very small town.
How did you handle that?
Honestly, I just would make sure when I would go somewhere and I would like, when someone would invite me to like stay for dinner, like I was so grateful for that because like, I'm like, oh, okay, I could eat. Like, I get to eat a good meal. You know what I mean? So I would be super like, I'll wash the dishes. Like, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Like, thank you, Mrs. Thank you, Mister. Like, I'll wash the dishes, push my seat in, like sit there, no elbows on the table. Like, I made sure like I was like to make sure like I'm a good kid. Like, and I wasn't a bad kid. I wasn't.
Yeah.
Like, I was always so nice and friendly. Like, if anything, I was bullied. I was bullied because I was nice to everybody. And, jealousy is an ugly trait because anything that anyone had, I never like wanted. If I wanted something that someone had, like at all, like I would go get it. Like I would go do that. Like I never was like somebody that followed the crowd either. And I think that's another reason why girls would bully me in high school and stuff is because like, they're all dressing and wearing this and doing this and talking like this. I'm like, okay, I don't care. I'm going to dress and do what I want and talk how I want and eat what I want and hang out with who I want. Like, I don't care. Like, I'd never been one to follow the crowd. And I think that's what separates me a lot, even in the sport. Like, I'm not doing what everyone's doing. I'm not, like we're all on our different paths and everything like that, but I'm not looking at other people's shit to be like, oh, all right, there's an idea from that. Like, I have a lot of inspiration from different people, 100%. Like, a lot of different people, my teammates, my coaches, my friends, like other like jiu-jitsu people in this community. But like, overall, like, I'm not trying to be like anybody but myself. Like, I've always been just me. Like, it's one thing my dad said, as cracked out as he is. He's always said, like, you're a leader. You are a born leader. Like, you are literally meant to be a leader. Like, and I feel that because you know what? When I do enter a room, like people do gravitate towards me because you know what? I'm friendly. I'm nice. Like, I'm not a bitch. Like, people look at her, she's like, oh, she got a bitch face. Like, I don't. Like, I'm so friendly. I'm so nice. Like, any new person that comes in, my coach literally is like, hey, Amanda, can you work with them? And I'm like, yeah. And like, I don't know, like, why be a jerk off? Like, why be mean? Why be a bitch? Like, I don't understand why some girls are so mean, like, and jealous and this and that. Like, even guys are like, they act like bitches. Like, I just never understood that. Like, you don't like something about yourself or your life, fucking change it. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't understand why be a bully. Like, I was bullied. That's why, like, I hate bullying. And when I see someone being mean to someone else or acting a certain way or treating someone a certain way, I'll be the one to say something. Like, you know what? Treat me how you want. That's on you because I'm a nice, good person. And if you want to do me wrong, hey, that's on you. You're losing a good friend and person in your life. But you want to bully somebody else because you feel some type of way about yourself, hey, you got some deeper rooted issues that you got to handle, my friend. Like, that's how I look at it. Like, when people are mean to other people and I see that, I'm like, are you okay? And they're like, oh, well, they're blah, blah, blah. I said, no. Are you okay? Because you're clearly bothered by what somebody else is doing. You're that bothered. You should be living your own life. Who cares? Worry about yourself. You know what I mean? Like, and it sounds kind of like, that sounds kind of bitchy saying all those things, but I don't know. Like, that just bothers me that people are just so nasty to each other and don't support each other. It's like, we're all trying to make it. We all been through shit. Like, why do we have to knock other people down to lift ourselves up? Like, I don't get that. Like, there's room for all of us. That mentality where there could only be one, that bullshit, throw that the fuck out. Because you can't do anything without anyone else. Like, yeah, at the end of the day, it's you in your shoes, your skin, everything. But overall, like, to sit here and knock other people that are trying to make something of themselves, like, why? You should be too busy living your own life, worried about yourself to knock other people down. And that's the way I look at it. And when I hear, like, because in this journey right now where I'm at, I'm getting, I'm starting to get that hate. I'm starting to get that hate a little bit. Like, more love than hate, but, like, still, like, I hear a little bit. And I'm just like, why are you so worried about what I'm doing? Why? You're mad because I'm doing what you want to be doing? Then go do it. I'm not stopping you. I'm not getting in your way. I'm no threat to you. Like, do it. I'll support you. Like, I literally like want to see everybody do great. Like, and everyone's like, oh, that's not realistic. I said, okay, but guess what? The fact that people are trying, that speaks for itself. Anyone that goes out there and puts themselves out there in competition, social media or anything, give it to them. Why we got to knock these people? Why? What do we gain from that? Because when you're taking time out of your day to knock someone else down, that just goes to show that you're losing track and focus on yourself. So, hey, chin down and gun through it. Worry about you. Stay in your lane. That's what I say. I'm always like, I'm in my own lane. When people are like, oh, did you hear this? I'm like, I don't know. I'm in my own lane, living my own life. And guess what? I like my life. And I'm making what I want out of my life. So I ain't worried about what anyone else is doing. I'll support everybody, though. Like, I support everybody. I love to see it. I love to see people succeed. Like, even every person I've competed against, every single person I competed against, whether I beat them or they beat me, we became friends. And that's something, like, people beef sometimes in this sport and all this stuff. Like, whatever. Like, I get it. Like, but you know what? Like, the fact that I'm going out there and scrapping with somebody and we're both walking off the mat together, like, why wouldn't we be friends? Why wouldn't we just beat the shit out of each other? Like, my last competition, this girl, Taylor, she came all the way up from Florida all by herself to do finishers. It was at finishers.
Yeah.
And, you know, she was like, hey, are you Amanda? I was like, oh, yeah. And, like, we knew we were going against each other, but we never met. And she's like, oh, yeah, like, nice to meet you. I'm Taylor. I'm like, nice to meet you, too. She didn't have anyone to warm up with. And she's by her. I was like, hey, you want to warm up together? We literally warmed up together in the back. And then we went and beat the shit out of each other, like, for 10 minutes.
Cool.
Yeah, like, why? Why do we have to be, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm nice. And people tell me, too, they're like, you're too nice. I'm like, well, so what?
Yeah.
You know, so what? Like, listen, I read people very well. I read people too well because I've been around a lot of people. And like, you know, my own blood has burned me. Yeah. So I read people well, whether I choose to ignore it or not. I always give everyone the benefit of the doubt. But like I said,
people don't pay attention to being able to read people.
Yeah, I do. I pick and choose my battles though. No,
I'm saying, like, a lot of times people ignore, like, I read people all the time.
Yeah.
It's whether I like to do it or not, or it's just something I instinctively do, and then I go with a gut feeling, and then I realize, like, I didn't know. I've always done it, and then when I was younger and whatnot, you know, there was a point where I became mature enough to realize how to read people.
Yeah.
And then when you apply it to business and you pay attention to reading people, but what I meant by the comment was just like, some people don't read people. Mm-hmm. Like, sometimes I'll talk to people and I'll be like, you're not, like, reading this dude, man?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
This dude's a weirdo.
Yeah.
Like, you ain't getting that vibe. And they're like, wait a minute. Then they're like, yeah, dude. I'm like, yeah, that guy's going to throw kids in his van, bro. Like, this dude's fucking crazy.
I'm calling the cops.
But I think reading people's important. Yeah. I don't know. I love you. There's so much passion in you. I love your rants. I love you going off.
Thank you.
It's a blast to be interviewing you.
You know what it is? I'm not blind to bullshit. Like, everything, like, it's black or white. Like, come on now. Like, I see things for what they are. Like, and I'm very optimistic. Like, you know, like, I'm always willing to hear and understand. Like, I'm not stubborn in that sense. Like, I'm not like, no, this is it. I get it because I know I lived it. I'm not like that. Like, there's ways to see everything. And people are like, you can't be like that. I'm like, oh, you know, but I am like that. Because, you know what? I've lived through a lot of shit. So I get it. I see things from all angles, you know? And that's why when people come to me and they say, like, oh, you're too nice. Like, you're too nice. I'm like, I'm not, though. Like, you know, like, I understand why they're acting that way because they're definitely feeling this. I understand why they're doing this because of this. Like, I know these things. I see it. I might have lived it, you know, but not, I've seen it. I've lived through it. I get it. I literally get it. You know why? Because I'm an open-minded person. I'm very, very open-minded. And I think that itself is going to get me very far because I don't know it all. I'm never going to know it all, you know? And I'm always eager to learn, whether it's about life, jiu-jitsu, anything besides math. I suck at math. Math is hard.
It's awful.
I hate it. But yeah, like, I don't know. Like, it's the little things for me. Because you know what? I think because I was in such a dark, dark place in my life and I've seen such ugly, ugly things, the littlest things are just what lift me up. The littlest things. And, you know, like, I've told people it's the little things and they're like, oh yeah, it's the little things. No, but like, for me, like, it really is the little things. The littlest things mean the most to me. I mean, simple as waking up in the morning, going to strength and conditioning, about to get killed, but looking up and still seeing, like, the sunrise and the stars at the same time. I'm like,
I get that way about coffee.
Coffee, yeah.
Well, it's like I wake up sometimes and I'm like, I'm waiting.
Yeah.
I'm waiting to open. So sometimes I wake up and I'm not doing what I want to do right now.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, fuck, man. And I'll just like walk across the studio and I'll just be like going to make coffee and I'll be like, hey, man, you're making coffee.
Yeah.
And then like you're going to go to work and you're going to be, you like the guys at work and you're going to do your podcast stuff afterwards. And like you should enjoy this time because when you change the next part of your life, it's going to be scary and fucked up. And essentially you're going to have to start where I was 10 years ago and go through all that feeling and all that hard work.
Yeah.
But I can go through it faster because I've been through it and it's probably going to take me 3 to 5 years to master what I want to do. And like, I should be grateful for the fact that like I wake up in silence because pretty soon it's going to be really fucking loud again. And I like making things loud, but I also like being able to slowly turn the volume down. And then when I get it low enough, then I'm like, okay, what are we going to do different now? And I think that's just the way I'll always be. But it's sometimes that it's just a cup of, or having a cup of coffee on the ride into work. Like, yo, man, just listen to the music.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool. Like, everything's
The
all right.
little things, yeah.
You didn't get the call today about shit going wrong. It's like your parents are still doing good. And it's like, you know, I'm getting older. My parents are getting older. I'm watching my parents turn into my grandparents. I see them every day. You know, I have a different relationship than I do with my brothers.
Yeah.
My brothers have kids and they're busy and they see my mom every now and again. I see them every day. And then like, you know, now I start paying attention to shit differently. So it's like, it is always the little things.
Yep. And the fact that you stop and you see those things too, like, I feel like, you know, the more gratitude you put out, like, the more you get in. You know, like, I've never been one to give to get, but, like, still, like, it's just the fact of, like, you know, like, it's true when you hear that saying, like, the things that you have now, like, you used to pray for. Like, think about where you were 5 years ago and think about where you are now. Like, those are things I constantly think about when I'm having my tough days because, like I said, like, I've been through so much shit, like, some really, really things that were really sent out to destroy me. And the fact that I am where I am, like even sitting here, like doing a podcast, like talking about me, like I'm not that interested, but then people are like, no, but you are. Like the amount of people that have reached out to me and like have told me like how inspiring I am. And like girls that have literally started jiu-jitsu because of me. And they're like, I'm tiny too. Like, and I even think me being a 5 foot tall, 115 pound little ass girl, like, you know, like I think that in itself is like inspiring to a lot of people because they're like, if this little ass girl could do this, I can do this. You know what I mean? Like, and that itself is just like, oh, like that just fuels me.
When you were talking earlier, that's what I was going to transition or like bring up is like, you're probably helping so many people even get through stuff.
I am. Well, now that I'm like talking about me and like, obviously I'm not so deep into things yet. Like there is a lot of things about me. And, you know, one day, honestly, I do want to write a book. Like I do, like my life, like sometimes I'd be like, yo, am I being punked? Ashton, you here? Like my life literally definitely is worth putting into a book for sure.
You shared a lot with me and it's like from the amount that you did share with me, like, you know, like I could sit here and try and push you to talk about that, but I don't think it's appropriate for you at this time to dump any of that out because you don't know how to tell that story. Mm-hmm. And like I remember when I would used to not know how to tell my story and then like eventually when I knew how to tell the story, that's when it was appropriate to tell the story. I think for how fast you rattled everything off and for how much it kept climaxing and then where you're at now is an amazing progress. I don't think it's appropriate for you to dump out on this show or anyone's show anytime soon.
Yeah.
I think that's something that when you want to do that, you should do that. Do you think you found your structure in jiu-jitsu and martial arts?
Yeah, I really think I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, because
I
feel like that search for structure kind of, like, I like that. I like that. I like that you didn't stay. I like that you didn't do the military. I like that you didn't do the police.
Me too.
And then I like that you're finding your structure here, but then you're also still going to help people with being a nurse.
Yeah.
And like, that's why, you know, I want to dig into this a little bit. You found your structure you've been searching for?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, listen, like I love kids. I love children. I love kids. Like, I definitely want to go into medical for pediatrics and work with kids because when I was young and I was going through all that stuff, you know, like I still like I don't know, like I just always felt like I had to give back somehow. Like even though I was going through hell and didn't have anything, like I would literally take the train into Center City and go to CHOP and volunteer in the cancer ring and just basically read stories to these kids and just play with the kids with the toys and everything. I'm like, here you go, like you know, just be there for the kids, like story time, like, you know, like during Halloween, like dress up and like Elmo and stuff like that. Like I did that young just because I don't know, like it just felt good. Like I always was someone that did things for people because like it made me feel good, but I didn't do things to get back. I did it because out of the kindness of my heart, like, you know, like even on my worst days, I still have so much more than other people too.
It's very uncommon that you search for positivity in the places you were been, because I mean, for me, I never did. Like I just got drunk, and like I started drinking when I was 13. I stopped drinking when I was 28, and I didn't drink for 10 years. And then now I do what I want because I turn into a man and I have control, and obviously not all the time, but I feel like I've done a good job. But like, you know, I've had 1 million people on this podcast, and I don't know any that searched for positivity while they were going through some shit. So it's odd in a very uplifting and positive way that you've always searched for. Like that's not normal to do that.
No, you're right. You're right. Now that you say that, you're right. You're right. That's not normal.
No,
but you know
most people
what?
get into heroin.
Oh God, no. Well, you know what? Growing up, and you know, my dad being mentally ill, a drug addict, you know, like seeing such bad things so often. It's just like, I just need to see some light. Like, I need to see some light.
But even then, a lot of people will use it as an excuse or a crutch to be like, he was like that, I got to be like that.
No, I'm the opposite. Like, I literally didn't even start drinking alcohol until I was 21 years old. Like, I was
That's
like...
so crazy.
I was
especially
like,
going to shows and shit like that.
Oh, yeah. No, I was sober. Like, I didn't... No,
it's so
and that's
wild that, like, it didn't go off the rails.
I wasn't easy to influence. Like, everyone could be doing this and drinking Smirnoff's Green Apple. That was the thing. Everyone could be drinking Four Locos. Like, that's the thing. But, like, I was never... Like, oh, everyone's doing it, so I'm going to do it. I was never like that. Yeah. So I'm like, I don't care. You guys could do it. I'm not doing it. Oh, well, we're all, okay, cool, do it. I'm chilling. Like, I don't care. It kind of
makes sense the way you carry yourself, your social media, what you're choosing to do.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Like, my dad always said, you want to soar with the eagles, you can't hoot with the owls. Like, you know what I mean?
What a great thing.
Yeah, oh God, I got a lot of them. My dad is a freaking crackhead, I'll tell you that, but he's an Italian little
I can't wait to steal that and say that to people.
Oh, I got more. Wait, they're coming. My dad is literally Joe Pesci. You know Joe Pesci?
Yeah, I know Joe Pesci.
My dad is Joe Pesci, but with a head injury.
Yeah.
So think of Joe Pesci, but with a head injury. That's my father.
Yeah.
Okay. God. But yeah, no, honestly, like I said, like I was around such negative, like so much negativity to my family and just what I was going through, like relationships, friendships, everything. Like, I don't know, like I just always looked for the light. Like I just always looked for the light. Like whether it was in music or whether it was like going and volunteering at the soup kitchen, like anything. Like I did that a lot too. Like, I don't know, like I was going to church. I was doing these things. Like I just honestly was like, there's so much more to life than this. Like, I know there is. I'm gonna find it. Like, there is. Like, so that's why, like, right now, where I'm at right now, like, I'm not where I want to be, but thank God I'm not where I used to be.
Yeah, but I feel like just from the way it's unfolding is that, like, this is now, like, your turning point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, man, yeah. That gives me chills even.
Yeah.
Like, that gives me chills right there. Yeah, I would definitely say, like, I'm definitely on the rise.
Turning point in a sense that, like, what you've been looking for, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, you went through all of that so fast, and I always try and bring people back and pick through it, but, like, to go at your age and just be like, no, this isn't it, this isn't it, this isn't it, this isn't it, and then get into martial arts and find your structure, and then pivot also into nursing at the same time, and then kind of like pull at both those fields at the same time, you probably feel balanced where it's still busy and chaotic, but at the same sense, you're getting a sound structure because you almost have these things kind of coming back at you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, I want to, you know, like that saying too, like you want to see good in the world, be good. Like, and that's something I've always kind of lived by, like be the good you want to see. Like, and that's just it. And that's why, like, I live by that. Like, you know what, like you want to be around good people, then be a good person, you know?
What was it like when you figured out that you found the structure?
I would say, like, honestly, the stars were starting to align, you know, like things were coming, opportunities were coming, people were coming into my life. Like,
because you would have kept going until you would have been like, okay, this isn't what I want to do at all, and then you would have been on to the next thing.
Yeah, definitely.
So the fact that was it odd to be like, oh no, I'm not, like, I want to stay here.
It was.
For somebody who hops from something constantly?
It was literally like, all right.
How far into it did you know? Did you know right away?
Yeah, honestly, I did, and it was very hard right away. Like, my jiu-jitsu journey at first was very hard.
Yeah.
Like, I started at a school that, like, obviously didn't take me very seriously, and then I jumped to another school because COVID happened, and I started another school, and that was a very toxic environment. I don't want to go too much into detail with that one, but that was a little bit of a toxic environment. And, I think some of these people, like, really saw the potential in me, but they didn't like it. So they kind of try to, like, make me feel otherwise. But I'm like, no, like, I'm meant for more, to the point where, like, I literally moved from Atlantic City area to where I'm at now, which is, like, right outside of Philly. It's only like an hour away. And right away, like, I started training at Webb, Jonathan Webb, amazing CFFC veteran, UFC vet, like, just an amazing person. Him, his family, like, the gym, my team, like, I'm telling you, like, I've never been surrounded by such driven individuals, like, and even the hobbyists that, like, want no parts of being a competitor. Just their support and their drive to even show up and train every day itself is just motivating itself, that I'm, like, around people that are just, they want to learn, It's
refreshing for me to hear somebody who doesn't settle, or in the sense of it doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And, like, I feel like people who read situations or have been through situations, or a lot of people don't listen to that, and then you're kind of like somewhere too long.
Yeah.
Almost. And then like now it's like, if I get into a situation, I'll just start reading it and be like, all right, how long are you gonna be here? You're gonna be wasting time here. And then when it feels right, I'm like, okay, all right, let's just, like, stay here.
Yeah.
So it's refreshing to hear somebody who's like, hey, that was a toxic environment and I got out of it.
Yeah.
And then that's, like, motivating for people listening, or other people who are looking to get into something. If just because that school or that situation doesn't feel right, that doesn't mean that you weren't supposed to keep doing it.
Right.
And then when you can pivot and get into a situation, then when it feels like home, then I feel like then a lot of people are comfortable to be themselves, and then that's when they can kind of be a version of what they would want to be.
Absolutely. Well, if it doesn't feel right, then it's not right, Like,
yeah.
And I stayed probably a little too long there.
But because you stayed too long there, that's another lesson that you learned on how not to stay too long somewhere else.
Absolutely. And you know what else? Like, I was getting my ducks in a row before I
love that saying. My mother says it.
It's true though. Like, I was like, you know what? Like, all right, my mind's made up now.
Yeah.
I need to move. I need to get the fuck out of here, and I need to start somewhere new. I want this, and I can't grow here.
It's awesome advice to give to people too. I have a friend who, like, he got out of college and he got a job, and he was there for a little bit and he didn't like it, and then he's on a third one now, but he finally, like, is like, I'm gonna stay here.
Yeah.
And then, like, when he was at job 2, we started going out for beers, and he would talk to me about it. And I was like, hey man, I was like, this is what happened last time. I was like, you should start looking now for another job, because when you don't want to work there anymore, you're going to take anything that comes your way. And if you start looking right now, when you actually want to leave, you're going to have options. You're not going to take one thing. And I tell people a lot, like, hey, pay attention to what you're saying. Like, if you don't like that, you're probably going to leave. So you should just start looking for it. And it's only because I had so many different jobs if I got somewhere. I mean, I was always raised, and how my dad brought up to me is he wouldn't give me shit about trying something else to see if I liked it.
Yeah.
He would just say, you better have another job lined up.
Yeah.
And, like, as
a
long
backup
as,
plan.
Yeah. I never had a backup plan. But, like, as long as I at least had another job ready to go, I wouldn't get shit from leaving a job and trying another one.
Yeah.
Like, because I was always into trades. Like, it's different now. Like, when I was working in factories, factory work was what you chose to do if you didn't go to college. So, like, you would have to go from this is when you'd sit down and have a job interview like this. That doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
You get hired through an app.
Yeah.
So, like, it was a different time, but, like, I always had to have that next thing, and he never gave me shit about trying something new, but I always just made sure if I didn't like a situation, I had to get out of it. And then when I was stuck at a job I hated, and, like, I remember my parents, like, pulled me aside and they were like, hey, like, you got to do something, because you come home and you spend 2 hours screaming about your job to us, and it's not, like, good.
Yeah.
It's not good. Like, we can't be that dumping ground anymore. Like, we know your boss is crazy. You have to get out of this situation. And then that was kind of the red flag. But because I went through that, when I get into those situations now, I'm like, hey, this isn't a good place.
Yeah.
And you read that earlier. But if you wouldn't go through that, you don't have any way to read it. And like, that's what's important about like failing and fucking up. And like, I mean, it goes the same way with relationships. Like, I've been in like some terrible fucking relationships, like some bad shit. But like, now I finally learned to like close the window on that shit. And then if I start talking to someone and I start seeing things go a specific way, I'm like, nah, that's not good. That's a toxic trait. Let's back up from there. But like, that's only because I went through that. So instead of beating myself up about like, hey, nobody wants to date you, blah, 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 and like giving myself too much shit, now it's like, hey man, like you're not in that position yet. It's not ready to do that yet. And these options aren't available, but at least you're not getting into being in a super fucking horrible situation.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's like even me with law enforcement. Like when I knew I was ready to leave, I literally like went for job interviews after I went and signed up for school. I went and applied, like everything. So as soon as I was done, the following week I had a job lined up. I had 2 jobs lined up. I had a personal training job at a gym, and then I had a bartending job already lined up in Center City, Philly. And then I started school next semester. So I was like, I already was ready to go, ready to rock. Like I left one thing right to the next. Like I didn't want that grace period. Like I knew what I wanted at this point. Like, and it took a little bit of time. Like I was not happy because I found myself coming home and, you know, and not feeling good and not feeling happy. And I'm like, no, I'm not letting myself feel this way. I've been through too much. I'm not going to just settle somewhere. Like, and it sucks going, like wanting a career so bad because you feel like that's what you need to be doing, to not having one and starting all over again. Like I'm 28, I'm in nursing school. Like I'll be a nurse by the time I'm 30. I'm back bartending, you know, I'm back personal training. I do that too. Like I teach kids, I teach women, jujitsu, like, you know, I'm doing all these multiple part-time things to get to where I want to get on top of chasing a dream of mine, you know? So people are like, oh, you're everywhere. You're all over the place. Like, no, I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm right where I need to be.
Much.
I know what I'm doing. I know what I want. And listen, if you're not with me, you're against me. So get the fuck out of my way. Literally, like, I hate to say it like that, but like, it's the truth. Like, I'm so sick of that.
I like how open you are, and just, you know, it's take it or leave it. I like that about you. With kind of like catching up to where you're at now, and like not kind of dwelling on how you got to here, what are you doing now? Because like you're competing this weekend. This will be dropped way after that, but like you obviously have pushed yourself to a point where you're now building a career.
Yeah,
I'm trying to. Like, so let's hang there for a little bit. So like, at what point did you kind of start turning the corner and start building your social media and start realizing that like this is what you want to do inside of this, outside of having a full-time career as a nurse, you psychopath?
Yeah. I mean, I'll definitely have that. I'm not, listen, as much as I love jiu-jitsu, school is number one still, because at the end of the day, like, you know, this isn't forever. I want this to be forever, but let's be realistic. It's not forever. But I'm definitely going to ride this wave and keep grinding and keep chipping away at what I want for this. And of course, it's going to make sacrifices, you know, but at the end of the day, like being in the medical field, helping, you know, helping people, you know, who knows, maybe I'll end up in like sports medicine and be working with jiu-jitsu athletes the rest of my life. Like, you know, like I don't know where I'm going to end up with that. I mean, my goal is pediatrics, but hey, like who knows, maybe I'll end up, like I said, sports medicine, like something like that. But listen, wherever I'm meant to be, I'm going to be, you know? So, obviously I have a plan. I know what I want, and I'm just going to keep chipping away at it. But as far as like being where I am now, like, you know,
did you always want to compete once you started training?
Yes, I competed. I literally competed 6 months after start. Not even 6 months, a little under 6 months after starting. And I actually talked about this on my last podcast, how like my first match was against a 12-year-old girl. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to smoke this little girl. Put me to sleep. She put me to sleep.
It's a wild sport.
I was like, shit, all right, what am I doing? But yeah, I've always wanted to compete. I've competed white belt. I've competed a ton at blue belt. But yeah, now, and I'm just like, I'm nonstop with it. Like I just constantly do it.
So with the school that you're at now, do you finally feel like that's like the best fitting for where you want to go with your competition?
Absolutely. Because between the support, between my teammates, between my coaches, between Jay and Jonathan, like I'm very lucky. Like the knowledge that these two men have, between like Jay like being an ADCC judge and then Jonathan like
he's awesome.
Yeah, Jay's the man.
He's one of my
Jay's
favorite
the
people to
man.
talk
Yeah,
to.
he's the best. He's literally like I've never seen or met someone that studies the sport besides John Danaher like him. I call him, I'm like, you're the John Danaher of the East Coast. You are the John Danaher of the East Coast because the way he's running our little Illuminati grappling club, we have a lot of success. Let's just say that we have a lot of success. But as well as Jonathan, you know, he has done it all, and he was in the UFC himself, and he's done ADCC. He's made it. He has made a name for himself. His accolades speak for themselves. You know what I mean? So like to have two coaches like
It's gotta
that,
be inspiring.
Oh,
With somebody who's as driven as you and has such a specific path that they want to carve out, regardless of success or failure. That's got to just fill the gas tank up every time you walk through that door.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, the fact that like I have somebody like Jay and Jonathan like that believe in me as much as I believe in myself. Even on days I don't believe in myself, they'll say one thing or they'll see something. They'll be like, "Yo, pick your head up. Like you're built for this. Like you're meant for this." You know. And it took me to lose one time. I lost like a couple months ago. I had just got my purple belt and I was like having this thing called imposter syndrome. So basically it happens at every belt. You get a new belt and you're like, oh my God, like I need to win. Like, no, you're back at the bottom now. You know what I mean? Like every level, it gets harder and harder, you know, like.
Imposter syndrome it's something I think that people just started talking about.
Yeah.
And I was watching a couple podcasts and there was a couple comedians that were coming out and talking about it. And then I was like, man, like I go through that so much and I never labeled as to what that was. And like, it's fucked up that you do that.
Yeah, because I think it's more so like you have these expectations of what you're supposed to be, but like, hey, like ride the wave. You know, that shit's out the window now. Like I'm good now. Like I took it for what it is. I'm like, all right, let me get out of my head with this. Cause
my therapist called me out on it and she's like, you always move the finish line. She's like, you constantly move the finish line.
Yes.
And I was like, what? And I was like, because, you know, I love therapy. I've been going since I've been 28. Well, a little bit before that because I was forced to in high school. But like once I started like going for me, it was when I was 28. And then like when she pointed that out, it stuck in my head. And usually there's one chirp every so often that I'll like won't let go of. Mm-hmm. And then like that was one for me. She's like, you're moving that finish line. You're moving that finish line.
Yeah.
And then the other week we were in therapy and she was like, you find that finish line yet? And I was like, I did. And she's like, really? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I did. It's like what I'm going to do next. That's my finish line.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's fucked up that you do that to yourself. I think sometimes people think that like they need that in order to work harder. But like, someone who's built like yourself, you're never going to stop working.
Well, you know what it is? Like I had somebody always tell me like, you're never satisfied. You're never satisfied.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you know, and they always made me feel bad about that. Like, and unfortunately it was somebody that I was dating and, you know, they were somebody that they weren't too happy with themselves. So they constantly like kind of tried to break me down.
But it's the worst place to get it from because you're vulnerable with somebody who you're trusting with
so
your
like,
feelings.
you know, you start to think that and you're like, am I just really never satisfied? Am I really this ungrateful as a person? And then when I snapped out of it, I'm like, no, I'm not satisfied because I want more for myself.
Yeah.
I'm meant for more. Like, of course I'm not satisfied because I'm not where I want to be yet. Why would I be satisfied? You know, I appreciate the ride, the journey and all the little things, but like, why would I be satisfied when I'm not where I want to be yet? Like, you know, I'm always striving for more. Like I know I got more. I know there's more to this. Like I know I can do it. I know I could go further. I know that because I'm meant for it. Like
yeah.
I really truly believe like I am meant for so much more. Like I really believe anything I want right now, I'm gonna get it because I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Like nothing's gonna stop me because the fact that like the roadblocks and the pain and the suffering and the shit I had to go through, like I'll get emotional even talking about it. Like people have no idea what type of holes I've had to pull myself out of. And the fact that like I'm here today, like even being able to talk about things like this and people don't even know what we're talking about. But like the fact that I'm even like here and I could do these things, like you can't stop me. You can't stop me. And I'm not going to stop till I get to where I want to get. And even then, okay, maybe at the top, I'm going to help other people get there too. Because guess what? Like, you know, like there's room for all of us. There's literally room for all of us. And I'm just so sick of all this hate and jealousy and people being just fucking assholes. Like, God, like how you treat people and how you talk about people, that just speaks for you, who you are. Like, I feel bad for people like that. Like, you know what I mean? So I just honestly like, Yeah, I'm not. I'm not satisfied. I'm
No.
not.
It's I like that you're getting emotional. It's a beautiful thing to sit here and see. I don't know you, and I believe that. You know what I mean? Like,
Sorry.
no, not at all. And I don't say it in the fact that like you're sitting here and being like, the fact that you said you were nervous and then took over the interview, I'm like, yo, what are you talking about? But like, I mean it in the sense of like, I don't know you and I believe you. Like, I believe in you. And we've only been talking for this short amount of time. Like, you do have something that you carry about you. And I notice it in you just from talking with you, is that like, you really will not stop. Like, there's people who say that, but like you carry yourself. There's an authority to you. It's how you project it in your voice. It's how you get emotional about it.
Yeah.
It's refreshing and it's nice. And it's why I love doing this show, is like you bring people on to show who they are. And like, just from the little time we've been talking, like it's very inspiring without you going into any detail on what you've been through, on just how you carry yourself. As like the fact that you think that you're old at 28, like 28 is
I'm
just
crazy.
28 is when things just start hurting.
Yeah.
Like, so like,
Don't tell me that.
when you have like this entire life ahead of you, and then to be weathered by so much to bring you up to 28, it reminds me of the time when I started all this. I started all this when I was 28.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I started it, and then I was dating a heroin addict. I was living above a bar. I was drinking since I was 13, and I quit drinking. And I started Never Again, and it was an apparel company, and I built it into a podcast. And then from the podcast, it built into this. And then, I mean, I started podcasting 7 years ago. The only people who were podcasting were Zach and JM, and I used to have to explain to people what a podcast is. And now everybody clips them out, and it's just something that everybody's doing. And I'm going on to what I believe is next, and I'm opening a restaurant, and it's all from me.
Living the dream.
It's all from me. From everything that you're saying, is like, I just believed in myself when I didn't believe in myself, and I didn't want to feel that way anymore, and I fought as hard as I could to make that feeling go away. And it's not something that I was able to do until I was 43.
Yeah.
And like, I had this other kid on, and I genuinely love talking to people, and the whole reason I will do the show, whether it's monetized or not monetized, or successful or not successful, I literally enjoy talking to other people who are also either going through something that I went through, or are trying to build. It's why my relationship with Zach is the way it is. Like, you know, I talked to you before about when I met him, and like, I always want him 3 steps ahead of me. Like, we'll get on calls and, what are you doing? Oh, I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to do this. Like, I just get motivated by bringing people in here. And then for you to be nervous to start doing this, and then you have all the success going around you, and you've done more things that most people wouldn't take chances on, and then to still think that it's not enough and you're still going to reach goals, most people would have stopped when you were halfway at where you're at going.
Yeah, no.
You've done some incredible things already, let alone you have all these incredible things that you now have in front of you, because all that shit that you went through is now making you realize to cut all the bullshit out. And now you're making like very decisive things, and like, you know, how we were talking, and you're like, I need to get in my media, and I need to start doing shows more. Like, it's not easy to do that. You drove over 2 hours. It's 8:30 at night. You're not going to get home till late. And it's like, I appreciate you coming up here and sharing your story, and you still got to drive home, and you still got to get up, and you still got to train. And like, that shit people don't want to do. It's shit people won't do.
Yeah.
It's like, at some point you should probably stop and realize what you're doing.
Yeah, like, I know. Can't stop crazy, you know?
No, I never do.
Can't stop crazy.
I don't. I'm left to deal with that now, and it's why it's driving me crazy. It sucks. Like, I have to, like, sometimes, like, I'll get upset, and then I'm like, what are you upset about? You're about to open up a TV studio and a restaurant, and you're sitting down here feeling sorry for yourself. And then, you know, I start reflecting on like, well, maybe you should start focusing on that. And why is that there? And you should probably get it out of there, because like, you're going to do all of this great stuff regardless. So you might as well start acknowledging it. Yeah. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird to, it's not weird. I mean, it's why I do the show, but I really like relating. I related to a lot of stuff that you do, and what you're doing.
Yeah.
Where are you going Saturday? Like, is this your highest level of competition?
Oh, yeah. It's definitely,
like, want to bring it to a point and start rounding it out, because I mean, you are more than welcome to come on here, whatever, and you could literally do a solo show if you're just ranting. But so this is like your toughest competition, the highest level that you're going against. It's the biggest thing that you've done so far in competing.
It's definitely like a really big promotion for sure.
Yeah. A lot of eyes on it.
Yeah, because I'm gonna be on UFC Fight Pass. So yeah, it's on there.
I love seeing people I know on there. It's
yeah,
fun. Renee,
it's awesome.
JM,
yeah. Well, Renee's gonna be on there again.
Yeah.
Renee's going against my teammate Andre Prochaska, which he's a UFC fighter.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. We got like who's number one, like Renee Souza against undefeated UFC Andre Prochaska, you know, and then we have Joe Pfeiffer on there. He's a freaking dog. Like, I got a lot of my teammates on there. Like, I'm lucky. Like, I'm lucky to be in the same warm up room as these guys. You know, like,
give you more nerves going into shit like that?
No,
or?
Honestly, it's more like it's home. Like, I'm home. Like, these are
that's right.
my family.
Because I was like, where are you going? You're like, it's an hour from my fucking house.
I mean, that's another thing too. Like, it's super local, which is awesome because I could have a lot of my friends.
It's cool that you get to do this kind of stuff, and it is local.
Yeah,
'cause Finishers isn't far from you either.
Not too far, no. And honestly, like Finishers is like almost becoming like my second home because they put me on all the time. Like,
I built my food business.
Yeah, they're awesome. What they're doing over there is Zach is a genius. I'll tell you that. Like he's very smart. But overall this weekend, like it's on a stage. You know, talking about it, my heart's starting to pound a little bit.
Yeah, it's fun now.
As far as my opponent,
feelings.
Like I know she's a very talented, tough chick. We were matched up before. The match didn't happen because I couldn't make it out there. It was all the way in Syracuse, New York, 5.5 hours away from me, and I like had a lot of stuff going on. I was like, I can't make it up that weekend, you know. So I was like, hey, like since I can't do this match with you, you mind doing this one with me? And she's like, yeah, absolutely. Like super cool. Like I reached out to her myself.
That's so crazy.
Like, hey, you want to fight me? Hey, I can't fight you here. You want to fight me here? Like, and she's like, yeah, like super cool girl. I'm excited to meet her. We have weigh-ins tomorrow and face-off. I mean, on Friday. Weigh-ins and face-off, everything. So I'm. Do
you like doing the weigh-ins and face-offs?
I mean, I don't. Yeah. You know why? Because how everyone does that whole like mean mugging thing. I'm like, I can't not smile. Like, so like even my last face off against the last girl, she was an MMA fighter. She had her like mean mug face on. I'm like,
they're probably like, is this bitch crazy?
They're like, be serious. I'm like,
I am.
I'm like, in my picture, I'm like sitting there smiling, and it's like first day of school picture. I'm like smiling so big, and they're like, you're fucking crazy. Like even when I walk out. I'll show you the clip later. The commentary is like, oh, Maz is walking out. She's all chippered up. So I'm like, I'm walking out like everyone else is all like serious, walking out to their like thug music, like all like they're like hardcore, like rock, all this stuff.
Do you get to choose your music?
Yeah.
What do you do?
I picked Blink-182.
Yeah.
Like,
are you going to see them this year?
Yeah. Oh, I've seen them like 10 times.
Yeah, I saw them years ago in New Jersey. They opened for Bad Religion.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I've seen them a bunch, but I walk out to Blink-182. Damn it, that's my song. That song just like since I was a kid, like
that's fun.
That's just like my song. That's like my pump me up song. Like
I did not peg you for like a punk rock hardcore girl at all.
Let me guess, you punked me as you pinned me as like what, Taylor Swift or something?
No,
like that?
I guess I couldn't. Well, like with your social media, I just started recently following it, but it was more like competition and stuff. And then I saw the other side of you when the girls went out for your birthday or whatever.
Yeah.
But like I didn't peg you for going to hardcore shows at 13.
Oh yeah. I was the girl that crowd surfed. You know what I mean? Like I would crowd surf, like, you know, like get back in line, go again. Like, you know, I would go to Warped Tour every summer.
Yeah, I used to go to Warped Tour all the time until they stopped doing it.
As far as moshing and stuff, no, because I would get trampled, stomped. Like, you know, that didn't happen. But I would crowd surf.
I went to Warped Tour.
My little ass would be up there.
I'm trying to think of the last time I don't think they do it anymore.
The last one I went to was in Atlantic City. What was it? Right before COVID, that summer.
We always went to the Philly one. We went to Philly.
Yeah, that
almost
one too.
all of them, and then the last one we went to was the Jersey one.
Camden, right?
Yeah, it was Green Day headline.
Yeah. I was.
But I was like, but they had like CKY2K and the Dillinger Escape Plan was like over on. It's weird looking back on those concerts and some of those bands becoming massive. I mean, Green Day was big, and like when they played, the whole place stopped and went over. But I remember seeing Kid Rock in Philly when like he wasn't anything.
Yeah.
And like D12 was supposed, Eminem and D12 were just popping off, and they were supposed to go on tour, but then D12 like beat somebody up, so but it was always Pennywise Bad Religion. That's why I always went Pennywise Bad Religion.
Yeah.
They would take off on like who would headline it, and then we always went to the Warped Tour. I always used to go with my friend Josh. My older brother took us, and then it was just something we did. Me and him went all the time, and then it just kind of stopped being the Warped Tour. It started turning into like not really what I thought was like punk music.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it definitely changed. But yeah, that's my music. I love that.
That's
music.
funny.
Yeah, I know people are like, "What are you listening to?" And I'm just
Yeah.
like, I mean, I listen to everything. Don't get me wrong, but overall, I'm a big Blink-182 girl. Alternative, like when I was young, I actually played the drums for a little bit, just of course because it's crazy drums. My brother is actually the musician out of both of us. I'm the athlete; he's the musician. So I was always around music too, and he's in a band himself, so he plays that kind of music too. So I just like that was like always our music.
So you got Blink-182, damn it. You got your UFC fight pass you're going to be on, and you got your weigh-ins, your face-offs. You have quite an incredible story. I appreciate you even opening up the little bit that you did on here. I think what you're doing is awesome. I think you're super motivational. I think that a lot of people can start getting into things because of following and watching what you do. I feel like I meant it when I said I feel like you're turning the corner. I feel like it's only bigger and better things for you, only because you're the type of person who will not stop until they have bigger and better things. If you ever want to come on here and promote anything, if you ever want to come back, or you want to ever do anything in the new studio or anything, it is a revolving door for you. You ever come over to Finishers and you're like, hey, you want to fuck around and just film some shit and do a quick podcast? You are a very interesting person. You're very motivational. I really enjoy how there is absolutely no bullshit with you, and it's not just a saying. I think it's funny that you were nervous and then took over the show. Only good things. I want to give you a chance to kind of promote everything that you're doing and where everybody can follow you and find out what you're doing, or if you have sponsors or stuff like that.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I'm sponsored by Fuel Hunt. I'm a Fuel Hunt athlete. Super awesome brand. They do fight wear, streetwear, everything. Super cool. I love everything they stand for. They picked me because, I have that grit to me. I have that hard work, and that's what all they're about. So they're literally, all hard work. That's it. Keep going. Grind. They're one of my main sponsors. I'll be repping their gear on Saturday night. I am also sponsored by Clean Plate Meal Preps in Woodbury, New Jersey. Super good food. Honestly, I've had a lot of meal preps, but I'm not even just saying that because they sponsor me. Like, they're awesome. Like, they're super good. They are very much like by portion and like true portion size, so it's really good. It helps me with weight cuts, everything like that. Not that I cut much. I cut literally maybe max 2 pounds. Like, I walk at my fight weight. I'm lucky. I'm small. I don't really have much to put anywhere, but also Malarkey Tattoo in Delaware, super awesome place. They sponsor me. Shadow Luxe Spray Tan. It's actually my coach Donovan's wife. Her spray tan studio. So, any type of events or anything, any of us, even the guys, like, she'll be like, oh, I'll spray you guys. Like, you'll look good. I'll make this look good. Like, we all do it. Like, spray tan, it's a spray tan, So she's super awesome. Alex Webb, Shadow Luxe Spa, Pursuit Training. Oh my God. This guy has like literally changed my life. His name's Adam Ferris. This guy is a machine. He is my strength and conditioning coach. So he trains Joe Pfeiffer as well. So that's kind of how like I met him, because Joe Pfeiffer's like trying to get some of the team in there and stuff because he's been training Pfeiffer. So me, my coach Donovan are in there. A couple of my other teammates, we're all in there strength and conditioning on like a strength and power program, and man, my numbers and my strength and just everything like have increased like tremendously. And it's like, and he knows his shit because this man, like, he runs those 100-mile races.
Those are crazy.
Like, what? Like, I think about running, like, because when I was in the police academy, we were in anywhere from 6 to 8, and I'm like, that was hell. Like 100 miles, like, absolutely not. But like, he does them, and they don't stop. Like,
do you hate cardio?
No, I don't. I honestly like cardio. I like running. I like sprinting. I'm crazy, I know. I like cardio, and jiu-jitsu is cardio, and I train twice, sometimes 3 times a day, like whether it's lifting or jiu-jitsu or just even running. Like, I do like cardio, but for 100 miles, no. No. Just no.
You finally found your limit.
Yeah, like I'll stop at 8. Like, okay, see you later. See you tomorrow. Like, but he is a machine, and I would say like anybody like, you know, for strength and conditioning for jiu-jitsu, it's definitely super important, but he really has helped me tremendously. Like even mentally, like when I'm in there and I'm like, I'm not having a good day, like the way he pushes me, you know, like even some of the shit he screams at me, like, are you who you want to be? Like, are you where you want to be? No. Okay. Keep freaking going. Like, you know, I need that. I need someone to yell at me. Like, I like that. Like, I like that when someone's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, get your head out of your ass. Like, I need that little like kick in the ass. Like, I'm not like, oh, sweetie, like, it's okay. Like, calm down. Like, you'll be okay. Like, no, like, I need you to like, yo, wake up, get your shit together. You know, like, I need that type of, you know, that type of love, you know. So my sponsors are great. Like, I'm very lucky. I'm very fortunate, you know. They support me. They believe in me. Definitely would love to, you know, get some more endorsements and everything like that to like help me with this all. I'm open to any of them. I like supporting people. Like I you know, like even before when I didn't have sponsors to put on my gear, like I would even put my friends' companies on my stuff just to rep them, and they weren't paying me. I did it just out of, you know, I just, hey, I'm gonna be on Fight Pass. I'm gonna slap your logo here, slap your logo here. Like I support you, like, you know, and they weren't paying me. They didn't expect it, but I did it anyway because you know what? Like you're doing something for you. You know, I can't be mad at you for it. So why wouldn't I support it? You know, so that's something I do too. You know, like people are like, oh no, you have to pay me for this. Like, oh no, you have to pay me for that. Like, no, like, you know what? No, I mean, it helps obviously, of course, but still, like I want to give credit where it's due. Of course, always. Like we're all just trying to make it. We're all trying to make it. You know what I mean? So I'm very fortunate with my sponsors. I'm lucky, and I'm very thankful for them. So, yeah.
What's your social media?
My social media is Amanda Mazza _ Mazza, not Mazza. Everyone goes Mazza. Even the announcers are like, Amanda Mazza. I'm like, where the frig? What? Like, no, Mazza. 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 Just had to clear that because nobody says it right. I'm like, it's 5 letters. How do you screw that up? But yeah, Amanda Mazza _
Instagram?
Yeah, that's my Instagram. Yeah.
Cool.
Yep, I don't have Facebook. I don't have Twitter. I don't have TikTok.
I just got rid of Facebook. It's so nice.
I don't even know how to use Facebook.
Yeah.
I had Facebook in high school. I don't even know how to use it. I literally have no idea. Twitter, TikTok.
I don't know how to use Twitter. I don't want to be on TikTok.
Yeah.
And I finally left Facebook. I feel like the only people who are left on Facebook are the people who weren't told that you're sharing too much.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Agreed on that one. Yeah, no. I don't need any more distractions. I'll do it all through Instagram. You know what I mean? Like,
I love Instagram.
Me too.
It's fun.
Yeah, because there's everything on there, you know? So, yeah, my Instagram, you know, I show a lot about my jiu-jitsu. I show a lot about my day. You know,
it's balanced. It's a good follow.
I post my dog. I have a doggy. My son has my fur baby. I post him a lot because he's a pain in my ass. He's like a human. But yeah, my friends, you know, my support, my teammates. I freaking awesome teammates, and we laugh. We laugh a lot. We beat the crap out of each other, but we laugh a lot. So I'm happy to share the mats with those people. Very fortunate to share the mats with such great people. Like I really couldn't. I can't explain how great of a team I have. Like, for so many reasons. Like, you know, we share each other's posts. We support each other. We know if we know someone's competing, we're going to push them to this level. We know someone's got this going on. We're going to be there for them. We're going to talk to them. We know someone's injured. We're going to reach out and make sure they're good. You know what I mean? Like, I'm lucky because I don't have family. So, like, for me to have family like that, it means everything to me. And the fact that my coaches, like, push that and expect that, they're like, listen, like, he even had this talk the other day because some people kind of are starting to get on their little ego trips and everything. He's like, listen, if you don't want to sit here and support one another, you're on the wrong team. You're on the wrong team because we can't do this without each other. You know, why not raise us all up? Like, we're all competing on Saturday. There's 11 of us competing. We're going against different people. We're different level belts, everything. Why wouldn't we support each other? You know what I mean? Like, Webb is coming in to take over, you know? Like, we're coming to make a name for ourselves. And we represent Jonathan Webb, which is one of the best people I've ever met in my entire life. Him and Jay, I am so lucky to fall under them. And that's another reason I think with my path, like, for me to end up under 2 coaches like that, and they love each other too. They're boys too. You know what I mean? Like, for me to have 2 great, humble people like that, because you hear all these horror stories with jiu-jitsu coaches and jiu-jitsu, like, you know, we're our own little cult itself. But like for me to have two coaches the way they are, so humble, supportive, and honest, and just genuine, I'm like, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. And that's another reason why I know I'm where I'm supposed to be, because of the people I'm under. Like, these are my coaches. Like, I represent them, and I'm proud to do that because they are exactly who I am. You know what I mean? Like, and not even that, like, even me, like, I'm not believing in myself. Like, they pick me back up, and they're like, yo, wake up. Like, you are where you're meant to be, and you have it. You literally have it. Like, my coach, Donovan, he said that one time. Like I said, like, he looked me in my face. He goes, look, I don't just say this to anybody, but you have it. You have it. Like, pointing at me. He's like, you have it. And from that day forward, I'm like, I have it. Like, I know I do. Like, I just need to stop. Like, I need to just get out of my head. I have it. I have it. I have it. I have it. So every time I like start to get in my head, I remember him saying that. And I remember the words that Jay says to me. And, you know, Jay's met so many people in this sport. And for him to really draw in on me, and I'm one of his favorite students. Like, I'm one of his, like, you know, I'm one of his people. Like, I'm one of his friends. Like, for him to literally, like, tell me the things he tells me, like, I'm like, I believe him. Like, I don't think he would just say these things, because he's met a lot of people in this in this jiu-jitsu world, and you know, and he says how much I stand out to him. So right there, I'm like, if I'm standing out to somebody like that, I'm doing something right.
It's inspiring.
Yeah,
it's inspiring. You got a rad story. I think it's awesome. I think all those people sit around and talk about how lucky they are to be around you.
Yeah.
You put a lot of people up, but I'm sure the others around you are very grateful for the type of person you are. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. If you want to check out her social media, please do. I recently started following her, and it is a fun follow. I told her I said, hey, you're doing your social media good. If you're a first-time listener, first-time watcher, it is neveragainstudio.com. That's my website. You can go on there. You can watch the podcast. You can listen to the podcast. It's on Spotify, iTunes, all that crazy shit. Anywhere you look it up, it probably is. YouTube is what I'm building as well. So if you want to subscribe to the YouTube, that's where you're watching this now. You can like, subscribe, all that stuff. It helps. Thank you so much for coming on. Please get home safe. I know you're going to get home late, and I thank you so much for coming out here, and I appreciate you driving all this way.
Thank you so much for having me. I'll definitely be back on. Thank you so much. Seriously,
course,
it was
you did
awesome.
good.
I can't wait to come to the restaurant. I can't wait to come to the restaurant. I'll make the drive for that. But it'll be great. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you.
Never Again Radio. Get into it, brother.